how's Bo Pelini gonna use Jacoby Stevens? And that was one of the things that he talked about yesterday when he had his virtual meeting with the media.
Yeah, my relationship with Coach Pelini is pretty cool. We can talk about stuff outside of football. I know there's some times where we'll be sitting in like the meeting room, and I'll have a football play on and kind of watching it with Damone, and Coach Pelini will come in and talk about something else off the field, and I feel like that's pretty cool. It kind of it creates a better rapport when the time, and we really know Coach Pelini and how he is and his moods when he is on the field, because we talk to him about other stuff than football. And when it comes to stuff that's how he's going to use me, it's kind of the same stuff I did last year. Just blitzing and is using where the team needs fit. Like I said, I'm willing to do anything to help the defense be a great defense and the team win.
We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, but the differences. In fact, we had Craig Stelz on, and the differences in a Bo Pelini defense and the personnel he's got versus how Dave Aranda used the defense. So I'll ask you. You listen to that clip, and Jacoby Stevens says, "It's for me. It's kind of the same. That pretty much what you see, or it's something maybe a little bit different."
I think it'll be a little bit closer to the football, a little bit more aggressive than he was a year ago. I just think he's got a skill set that really fits that. I heard Gordy on with you a little bit yesterday, and the closer you can get him to the ball, I'm in favor of that. I just think he has a skill set where he can rush the passer. He can play a linebacker. He's a linebacker size, and obviously he's got great coverage skills as well. Because even for instance, the C.D. Lamb play where C.D. Lamb caught one over the top of him. That's a first-round receiver, and Jacoby was step for step with him.
He was there.
The coverage wasn't bad.
No, it was.
So, I mean, it's a rare ability that he has to be able to play on all three levels at a very high level. So I'm intrigued by it, and I love the stuff he says about we'll be watching some football, and Bo comes in there and will bring something else up. That's one of the things I love about Bo. Bo's going to get to know you on a personal level. He's going to create that relationship. And so you heard Jacoby say it. So when you go out on the field and he says something to you, one, you're going to respect it. You're going to listen to it. And you know what he's saying. He means it. Like he wants you to get this message, to get his point across. So Bo Pelini, for me, was one of the best relationships I ever had with a coach. And you're talking about a guy that didn't play defense. That's who Bo is. Bo's going to get to know everybody on the team. He's going to know what your strengths are and also your weaknesses. I can remember him going over game plans, and you've heard me say this before. He would come over to Dixon. He would come over to me and Flynn, whoever it was, and be like, hey, this week or last week I kind of saw you doing this. They're going to see that, so watch out for this. A guy, you got beat inside last week on that pass rush. Hey, Florida's going to, little things like that and he didn't have to do that, but he's got great relationship with his players, and I would assume Jacoby Stevens is probably his protege, like the number one guy that gives all the examples and everything.
I gotta be honest. There was one thing that jumped into my mind when he was asked that question. The way Pelini used, and this is not a perfect comparison, but I just remember LaRon Landry coming about once every other game on a straight-out safety blitz. In fact, he almost killed John Parker Wilson one year, and it was Landry timed it up perfectly maybe 4 or 5 times in his career, and just came.
Arizona was one.
That was another one, yeah. I just remember there were 2 on the Alabama quarterbacks. One was John Parker Wilson. The other one might have been Brody Croyle.
It was Brody Croyle. Same haircut.
Yeah, where Landry just comes on an absolute dead run, times it up perfectly, and demolishes the quarterback. And when I thought about Stevens back there, it's like, well, how Pelini might use it? It's like, you might only do it 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
But if you know it's coming, he runs well enough to do that. He's got the build to do that. That's the first play I thought of.
And you should. And that's the comp I gave over and over the first week when Bo was hired. To be able to do that, you have to have Jesse Daniels like he was for LaRon. You have to have that guy back there that can allow you. I always talk about, I thought Ryan Clark was so good at covering up for Troy Polamalu because Troy was going to do whatever he wanted, and Ryan kind of knew him so well that he could kind of play off of it. And whatever Troy did, well, Ryan was going to cover him up, right? And you have to have that guy. And I think that's why Todd Harris coming back and being full strength is so important because Maurice Hampton's going to be a player. He's going to make plays, but Todd Harris is going to be back there to help cover everything up, to allow other guys to make plays. And that's okay. You can make a long career doing that. You can be a stud football player doing that. And that's what he brings to this defense. So when I heard Coach O kind of say he's kind of getting back to there, I'd love for him to be back at full strength, because then Jacoby can be that guy who we saw in LaRon Landry and others.
Stevens was also talking about personnel yesterday, and the question about who he sees being able to step in for Kary Vincent.
Those guys, they've done a great job. They accepted the challenge, and like I said, Cordell's always been a guy that we've depended on. It's nothing new for him. He's gonna now he's the clear starter, and we're expecting a lot from Cordell. And same thing with Darius and the guys that are going to take the role after Kary left. And like I said, like Coach O said, it's always next man up, and we don't blink. So the exception doesn't change.
I never thought that Flott would be anything but a starter. It was just how much was he going to play on the inside and how much was he going to play on the outside. I talked to Gordy yesterday. He's a bigger fan of Flott on the outside than Flott in the slot, which just totally screws up my cadence. But
I already told you, print the shirts.
Yeah.
I disagree with Gordy a little bit. I do think Cordell moves to the slot. I think Elias Ricks is comfortable on the outside. I don't think you want to put too much on a young player's plate. I think coming in as a freshman and doing all the things you have to do, playing the nickel, I prefer him to be on the outside. Cordell does have some time in the slot. And when you play teams, I know Alabama's going to try to create a mismatch there in the slot. There's other teams. Florida's going to try to create a mismatch in the slot. They're going to put some of their better route runners in the slot there. So you want a guy who's been here for a year. And last year, he kind of got thrown to the fire. Remember, Christian Fulton was out. I believe it was an ankle injury that Christian Fulton had in training camp, and that's where Cordell Flott kind of stood up, and that's where everybody got to notice him. And it was a lot of that was outside, but some of it was in the slot as well, because they were putting older players on the outside. So we'll see where he ends up. I think he ends up more as the nickelback. Hearing Jay Ward's name a lot. That was a guy that we talked about the other day. So there's depth there. You lose a piece in Kary Vincent. Now you've got to have some guys step up. It helps that you have the number one corner in the country, Elias Ricks, coming to your team. It also helps that he has been here since January. I think that's a key factor, because if he just got here in May with all the cloudiness that we have in this offseason, at least he has been here. He's gone through meetings in the spring, so he knows what it looks like, and I think he can give you something from day one.
Did you catch it when he brought up Darius Jones?
Yeah,
that's the first time
he said it before other names. Yeah,
that was one of the guys. I mean, the true freshman out of Horn Lake he's long, man. He's 6'2". You pick up on it. I mean, the physical attributes are there. Now he's thin. You know who he reminds me of? Robinson. I'm blanking on
Patrick?
Robinson. No. 22 here. The Rayshard Robinson, who showed up at about 175 pounds or so, and was playing almost immediately because he played a lot bigger than that. Jones has got not terribly a dissimilar build to what he did.
As long as you're long out there, it doesn't really, you can gain the weight and you can get more physical, but the key factor is, can you break up passes? Can you arm check them? Can you do all those different type of things?
One more on personnel, and this was Jacoby Stevens about Jabril Cox.
He's a hard worker. He loves football. I mean, me, Jabril, and Damone, we all go watch film like right after practice. I mean, we're almost waiting for the film that he put up. So he's a football head. He can run sideline to sideline. He's a good guy. I'm really excited to play with him. On the 26th.
He looks the part. And the fact that he has been instilled almost from day one. Really, he sort of broke into LSU's starting lineup before he left North Dakota.
Yeah,
he was. Remember, Ogeron told a story about he was going to come on the visit the week that the outbreak started and had to turn around at the airport and go back home. He was a starter before he got on the plane almost. He looks the part. It would have been probably a day 2 draft pick last year. So it's almost like getting a guy back that, well, kind of like Jacoby Stevens. Stevens could have gone into the draft, decided to come back. Getting a Jabril Cox is sort of like that.
To lose a first-round pick in Patrick Queen and a third-round pick in Jacob Phillips, I'll tell you what, I feel damn strong about the linebacking room right now. When you've got Damone Clark, who we've seen play a ton of football early in his career at LSU, Jabril Cox, a guy that's only really knows how to win a national championship, right? And a guy that would have been drafted. And then even some of the young pieces around them. And, Micah Baskerville is a guy that has started at Florida in his career. Not often do you lose that much talent and still feel pretty good about where your room sits. Now, the depth isn't gigantic, right? You're somewhat thin as far as experienced players, so you want to stay healthy there. But as far as a 1-2 punch in Clark and Cox, that's pretty good.